Oh, the apocalypse. Once again, you crazy, crazy scenario, you. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of 40 Acres, the newest film from director R.T. Thorne. Okay, ladies and gentlemen who have not heard about this movie, we have 40 Acres, which was a post-apocalyptic film that stars, of course, Danielle Deadwyler. It's a story of a family who lives on a farm in the middle of a post-apocalyptic scenario where there are cannibals, where there are basically a situation has happened, a disease has spread and has caused famine, all that good stuff. And so this lady, this character played by Danielle Deadwyler, protects her family. She was once in the army. She kind of puts them into a very protective state and is very forceful with what she's doing. She has a son, she has a stepdaughter, she has a husband who's a step parents to a couple kids. There's a kid who's played by Kataem who plays Emmanuel, who is like the main kid of this movie. And it basically is a survival in the post-apocalyptic world where at any moment a group of cannibals or a group of soldiers could attack them and take them over and kill them. So they have to be prepared in this kind of crazy post-apocalyptic world. Think of like The Last of Us or The Road and that kind of nature of what's going, The Walking Dead and all that stuff. So this movie has garnered a pretty decent cred of reviews. I didn't know much about this film, to be fairly honest. It's one of those that kind of slipped underneath my radar. But once you kind of start hearing people talk about movies like this, once you start hearing like the really good press about it, you become more and more intrigued, because then you have the ability to maybe find something, a diamond in the rough or something unique that you may have never heard of before. So I was able to see this, early. There was a mystery screening of this a while back, a couple weeks ago from this review. And once I heard how good this movie was, I'm like, I'll watch it. I'll see what I think. I like Danielle Deadwyler. She was fantastic. Unfortunately, she didn't get an Oscar nomination for her performance but she's very good. But it has a lot of people that myself included, have never heard of before. But have worked in the acting field for a while. And so with that said, for my honest review of this movie, this movie is fantastic. It is graphic. It is heartbreaking. It's heart-wrenching, but it is also hopeful. It is also suspenseful. It's the perfect suspense horror film that is wrapped in a dramatic, tense-filled type of situation where these individuals they have a home life. They are protected around a electrified fence. They know how to wield weapons. They know how to take down the enemy. But as these things do, you're going to have family members or people in this world who has not known anything but this world kind of want to go past the world. And that's when the problems start happening, especially with the Emmanuel character and kind of how he interacts with his mom, who's very forceful in her nature. And I think overall, the chemistry between the characters, especially Emmanuel and his mother, who's played by Danielle Deadwyler, and all the characters, including the other kids and the people around it, the character that Danielle Deadwyler plays, Haile, she has a friend named Augusta, who of course she talks to on the radio, but she also monitors the radio. There is so much a level of like intrigue and a level of like authenticity of what could happen in this world when you have to protect your family, and what do you do when you're put into an unfortunate scenario where things go chaotically wrong, and then you have people trying to escape and so on and so forth. So the attention to detail that R.T. Thorne has put into this movie, and the level of just how low key it is but also high stakes that it becomes, is a really kind of a great approach to a movie. And I really appreciate that it's not a big budget movie, but it all has the intensity of like a high budget suspense thriller, like a 28 Years Later or something like that. And it's just one of the most surprising films. It is a film that you've seen a billion times before, but I've always said that if you watch a film like this or a movie like this and it creates an interesting story and a fun story, and uses characters in a very interesting way and creates a really interesting dialogue and settings and stuff like that, it's a movie that really you can use the same kind of character tropes and have it be just as interesting and authentic and fun and entertaining, but also have some meaning behind it. Parents and their kids and trying to keep their kids safe in a fortunate scenario. And I think what is happening here is really well done with the writers and R.T. Thorne and stuff like that. And then on top of that, Danielle Deadwyler is just a fantastic actress. She's a very underrated actress. She is somebody who creates a really interesting dynamic. She's very intense. She's very emotional. She's very straightforward with what she wants to say. She's going to protect her family at all costs. And if they don't like that, go F yourself, basically. You're going to do what I say. And to watch her character arc kind of shift as this movie moves along, watching her son, who was unfortunately in a predicament where he didn't see his mother because she was in the army, she was deployed overseas, watching that kind of play out and how it becomes like a hard shell that he has to break. It's a really well put together scenario, and I think once again Danielle Deadwyler does a really nice job, as well as the other actors and actresses in this, especially her husband in this movie, who is like a stepfather to some of the kids. I like the scenario, like how they teach the kids how to use guns. The opening of this movie is brutal and interesting and dynamic, and then it leads into some really interesting stuff and just about the family life and stuff like that. It shoots back to the past. It's done in chapters, and it leads to a very satisfying conclusion that makes me really love this movie. So I have I'm really interested to see what RT Thor is going to do next. Whether it's going to be something like, in this kind of scope when it comes to the budgetary reasons, if he's going to get bigger budget, because this is a true winner. This is like one of the better films you'll see this year, especially for its genre and what it's trying to do. I don't know if it'll place top 10, but it'll at least be an honorable mention because it's just a very fascinating, very well put together film with a lot of interesting, fun stuff. And like I said, the bad guys are really chaotic and evil and disgusting, and the fact that they're cannibals makes it a really much more interesting story. And I've always loved the nature of how unsettling and how creepy it is when you deal with that kind of stuff, because the animalistic urges of people when things go truly wrong is fascinating, the thing to see. That's why The Road is so interesting. Once again, that's why The Last of Us is so interesting. That's why, Walking Dead in some forms is really interesting, because it takes those humanistic approaches, throws it out the window, and makes you what we truly are, which are a animal form of person that is kind of collapse into a bubble until it bursts in the apocalyptic scenario. So, but overall, 40 Acres is a surprise winner for me. It's a high recommend, especially if you like this type of genre. And I cannot say much more about that than Everybody's Great. And it's a good action thriller as well as a suspense thriller in a lot of respects. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, that's going to be my take on 40 Acres. Be in theaters, and I'm sure VOD shortly after that. So definitely check it out if you get a chance. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, let me know if you've seen this movie, with the mystery movie, if you're interested in seeing this movie after the review. I really appreciate your comments. But otherwise, if you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell, top to fun's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.